Coming up on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast, we got a commitment from Marcel Reed. We'll tell you all about that. We'll remind you what John Garcia said a while back about that. And also we continue our post-spring grades by position group. The running backs are on the agenda today after the quarterbacks yesterday. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, and thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor and hit subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell for notifications of new videos going up, which happens quite frequently, and upvote the video itself. And this is a reminder, if we get to 1,000 subscribers before football season, that's like 4 months away, we are going to do a live post-game show that will be interactive with fans immediately following ball games. We have a commitment from one Ole Miss legend. We're trying to find another, and we have a high school coach. We're going to try and do this really good. It's going to be about a 30-minute show, so not a big-time commitment, so you can get in and talk about exactly what's going on in the game and what you saw, what happened. You can interact with experts, and we will have a lot of fun doing that. This should be a lot of fun. That's post-game live that will come to this channel if we hit 1,000 subscribers by football season. So I'm very impressed. Now, if the day after the Troy game we go over 1,000, doesn't count. Not going to happen. We're going to just do a post-game pod like you have seen. But post-game live, doing it big, we need a leeway going into football season. Now, if you look at it, and we're almost 80% done with that, we are going to hit it most likely by June. So once that happens, we'll start planning and start building for the post-game live. Should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. Ole Miss legend going to be on the show. Okay, Marcel Reed committed to Ole Miss, the 4-star quarterback out of MBA, committed to Ole Miss. And many people look at what's going on and they're like, okay, does this mean that we are out of it with Arch and Jaden Rashada and all those guys? And the answer is no. There's no need to even ask about it, but that's all I'm going to say on that because Marcel Reed's a solid prospect in his own right. If you got a 4-star quarterback at Ole Miss before, let's say, Matt Corral, it was a big deal. It wasn't that long ago that Ole Miss was struggling at the recruit position. Zach Stout was taking snaps under center. It really changed with the addition of Arkansas State transfer Bo Wallace. And then Last Chance U and Clemson afterthought Chad Kelly. This wasn't big. And then Shea Patterson came in and was like, okay, we turned it around. He didn't work out. Then Jordan Tomu came in from New Mexico Institute of Technology. Like I said, these aren't high-profile guys. The first high-profile guy that really got in this modern period was Matt Corral. And other than that, we've relied heavily on transfers. But Matt Corral was the high school player that started out slow, a little bit of Jackson Dart in him, the gunslinger. Had a come-to-Jesus moment after the 2019 season, got his life in order, really focused on football, and became a little bit of a force. And the same thing can happen to Jackson. That's the reason you don't give up over on a spring game. There's going to be people making hot takes about the quarterback position off of that spring game, but let's just say there's a lot of reps between now and Troy. But Marcel Reed, a dual-threat quarterback out of MBA. I'm a huge MBA guy. Way back when, I think, when I worked at Rivals, there was a freshman running back that was just completely running all over, I think, Brentwood Academy. And he's sitting there, it was Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler as a freshman. The reason I thought about that is because he's an Ole Miss legacy. He's Chico Chandler's son. He ended up going to Tennessee and eventually on to North Carolina, but it was kind of cool to see him as a freshman completely tearing apart Brentwood Academy. I mean, completely tearing them apart. And because of that, I kind of started paying attention to NBA. Now, what they like to do is they start them young. They almost treat it like that baseball class that you build to, like the Gray Kessinger class, the Thomas Dillard one that everybody tried to build to it and build to what's going on. Didn't work out, but that's what they were building to. They kind of do that at NBA on the same level. They'll find a guy as a freshman. They have no problem playing them and let them go. And because of that, they build all sorts of experience. He's an unbelievably athletic player. He's a 4-star quarterback playing private school ball in Tennessee. You don't necessarily see that often, although they do recruit up there. But he's a good player. Now, coming up right now, we're going to remind you and play the 3-minute clip of John Garcia talking about Marcel Reed. We'll see you in a few minutes. Now we're going to move on to a quarterback that many people might not know about, Marcel Reed. I think he goes to NBA in Nashville. Tell us a little bit about him and what we can expect there, because my understanding is if for some reason Manning and Rashada falls through, if they put the full court press on Reed, they can probably get him.
Yeah, Reed has been to campus many times, but he's a totally different quarterback. That's why it's so fascinating. I think you mentioned Matt Corral in high school. Yeah, we thought he had a nice arm, but he was really more of a runner, an athlete playing the position that you wanted to see develop. And I think Marcel Reed fits that mold to a degree. I mean, a kid who's a very, very strong athlete, good runner at the quarterback position. I think he had as many rushing touchdowns as passing touchdowns in 2021, but he's got experience out the wazoo, and that's what you really like at the position. You know, I think we get lost sometimes in the physical with quarterbacks, but in terms of getting guys into position and being experienced in a modern offense, I mean, he's going to be like a 4-year starter at the high school level, and that's why he blew up so early. You know, I think 3 or 4 years ago, he started picking up all of the SEC offers, and now it's only a select group still in the race for Marcel. And I think Arkansas is probably the primary competition for Reed, but you know, they might get a commit next week from another prospect. So I think that could bode very well for Ole Miss, as you mentioned, Stephen, if things do fall through with Rashada and or Manning, or if Lane Kiffin decides, hey, maybe this is the year I take 2 quarterbacks in one class, which is not easy to do, but something that Lane Kiffin has done before. He was obviously the coach who brought Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones to Alabama in the same cycle, which is near impossible to do in terms of getting 2 different personality types on the field and in the fold together. And I think Lane Kiffin's done it before, and he might try to do it again. So Marcel Reed is absolutely a name to know.
All right, and it's comp time again with Marcel Reed. Tell me what type of quarterback he is. Give us a comparison.
Yeah, I think he's one that's equally as impressive as a runner as he is as a passer. I think maybe an Emory Jones, to keep it in the SEC, where you see the physical tools, but you also see that athleticism, and it becomes very intriguing as to which way and which direction his game is going to go. You know, he's got a good frame at 6'1", 6'2", near the 200-pound mark, so he's got room to be physically bigger than Emory Jones at the same stage, but I do see good arm talent as well as that raw athleticism to package thereafter. And we know in Ole Miss's system with heavy RPO and decision making, that is incredibly important at the quarterback position. So I'm a big fan of Marcel Reed. I think you can't substitute the experience that he has, and that's why he's kind of the sneaky recruiting quarterback prospect that a lot of these schools are keeping an eye on.
Yeah, and I think the NBA is kind of like that. Way back when I worked at Rivals, way back when, I was out covering a high school game, and there was this little freshman running back at NBA, and all of a sudden he just was tearing, I think it might have been Innsworth, it might have been Brentwood, just tearing them apart, and he finds out it was Ty Chandler. And just 4 years of that developed into Tennessee and into North Carolina. And I think that NBA and the high school level just kind of slowly develops you as you go. They kind of want that. That's like the baseball team that every 3 years they can hit the 11.7 at a high level. So they try to build to that year. So that's kind of what NBA does. And I really like their facilities. I like what they're doing. And, Nashville, is a great town. All right, there you go. John Garcia, that's the benefit of this network. We can just get people on. They can talk about what's going on and find out what's going on. You got to respect this Locked On network. And it's a modern network. It isn't like the old stuff of Rivals. Everybody's going to have to play catch up with this, and they are really ahead of the ball game, and I'm extremely fortunate to be a part of it. But John Garcia might not be on this week just because I have a ton of family commitments coming up this week, but he'll be on next week talking about. But he talked about Marcel Reed last Wednesday. Then that's the clip of that. But he's a really good player. He's a good quarterback. And again, that doesn't preclude signing a second quarterback in this class. It just doesn't. Marcel Reed does preclude you ended up empty in this class. Good player. I think he has a chance to be RG3-ish, personally. If he develops and everything goes right, he has that chance. I think John Garcia compared him to Emory Jones as far as toolsy. I don't think the lights coming on that kind of affected him what's going on, but he has a chance to be a really good player. I think he has a chance to be RG3-ish at the quarterback position. Now, our next partner has been a product I literally use every day. I started taking AG1 because I wanted better energy and a better immune system thanks to COVID. Hated taking pills and vitamins and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. Wanted to see what all the hype was about. Now I've been on it for a couple of weeks and I love it. It doesn't taste super healthy. It's kind of a mild tropical taste that I actually kind of look forward to each morning. Now, right now is the time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially COVID's not dead. Now it's just like mandates isn't necessarily there. It's still floating around. So if you want to avoid getting it, you can take it and boost your immune system through this every day with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/college. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/college, and take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Now for a big announcement. For the first time ever, Locked On is hosting live coverage of the 2022 NFL Draft from our studios in Dallas with yours truly, maybe sometime Friday, seriously, with pick-by-pick analysis from our team and experts and draft gurus. Tune in all 3 days as our draft team guides you through every pick and every trade in real time. It starts Thursday, April 28th, 7 p.m. Eastern, available on the Locked On NFL channel on YouTube and on the Audacity app. Should be a lot of fun. Now, the first segment, we talked all about Marcel Reed. Good that he committed. Now we can get back to our regular scheduled program. That is position group grades. We're doing position group report cards. And with the running backs, I'm going to give them a solid A, maybe an A+. This is the most talented running back room that Ole Miss has had in my lifetime. I'll say that again. This is the most talented running back room that Ole Miss has had in my lifetime. I saw Zach Evans come in there making plays. There were plays that last year would have been stopped for 3 and 4 games. This is only in 3 carries. He ended up getting 8 yards. Unbelievably athletic. He's a guy that's going to play on Sundays. They're going to keep his touches down, even though that sounds counterintuitive. But the whole point is to make him more draft worthy, and that's how I got him here. Ulysses Bentley the 4th. 42-yard pass, cut in there. You saw a little bit of zip. Bentley reminds me a little bit of honestly a plus Jerry and Ely. Zach Evans, believe it or not, is a super plus Henry Parrish and maybe a little Snoop Connor. And we'll see Quinshon Judkins, who had a nasty stiff arm in the game. That was a lot of fun. Now, what people need to realize about this Ole Miss team and this Ole Miss offense is that, I'm going to grade the receivers tomorrow, but the outside receivers are not the focal point. They're there to occupy other defenders. The main portion of this offense is going to be the running back, the tight end, and the slot receiver. They're going to attack over the middle. It's an RPO-based system, so there's not a lot they can do on the outside. So you take in those RPOs, and then you mix in the 10% Lane Kiffin shot play, and all of a sudden, you have something that can work. Basically, defenses are going to see Ole Miss come out in something abnormal. They're going to know it's a shot play, and they're going to sell out on the pass, essentially. So you're going to have to see Lane Kiffin throw in some runs out of weird formations to keep it balanced, just to make the RPO stuff work and not having a tell. But, man, this running back room is really, really talented. All the way down. Quinshon Judkins is one of the best high schoolers we have signed at Ole Miss. Unbelievably good play. You see the lateral movement, the stiff arm, and everything you would want to happen. He does it so easily. Zach Evans looks effortless out there playing. He's running it into linebackers and defensive linemen, but you can see his cut and what he's doing. It's unbelievably special. Same thing with Ulysses Bentley IV, which, by the way, is the most Ole Miss name ever, even though Ulysses is attached. Just a great player and weapons in the pass game. Both Zach Evans and Ulysses Bentley IV, weapons in the pass game. Excellent hands. So you will see them use, and you will see, because of them being a weapon in the pass game, the ability to angle route them with a slot receiver or a tight end, and that can change your personnel grouping and the way things look. That's how we can get an advantage doing it, because the way it's set right now is, it's almost always an 11 personnel, and you go off of it. Now you can do 21, now you can do 10, and all of it can accomplish the same type stuff. Now I'm pretty excited about that. I really am. I do want to see some 21 personnel, because the running back room is without a doubt the most talented room on campus, and I want to see what they do. I just like watching them play. Now, this is an Ole Miss team that's either led or finished second in the SEC the last 2 years in rushing. People see Lane Kiffin and think he throws over the yard. He doesn't. Ole Miss has been a 60% run team since he's been here. And something me and Corey Burton, actually, if you look at Boot Camp the Offense, a video that we did after Lane Kiffin got hired, of what the offense would look like here, we absolutely nailed that. And the best part about this offense is, you don't necessarily need any type of quarterback, any type of running back, any type of receiver, although you do need some bigger guys. We learned that last year. And seeing that you can kind of mold it to what you want to do. That's the reason this system is so top shelf, so different. Exactly what you want to happen is because it's so flexible and the ability. Now, people don't realize Ole Miss and Arkansas has run the same offense. The offenses look completely different. They run the same offense, the same principles. Ole Miss can make their offense look exactly like Arkansas, and Arkansas can make their offense look exactly like Ole Miss. And that's really, really cool because of the flexibility that it gives. And now that you have basically an A-plus running back room, you have to figure out a way to maximize that. Ulysses Bentley and Zach Evans on the field at the same time, maybe, in the replace of a slot receiver. We do need Jalen Knox to get on the field. He did not play in the spring game. I did like J.J. Henry. We'll talk about that in the wide receiver room. But when it comes down to it, these guys have a chance to be really special. Really, really special. And I'm excited about it. And that's the reason I give them an A+ in the running back room report card. It's really excited. Anyway, BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league news, including this year's baseball playoffs and the basketball playoffs and the start of this Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the games start. If you look at it, I think Ole Miss is plus 5,000 to win the college football playoff, and Jackson Dart's like plus 1,800 or something for the Heisman Trophy. When we come back, we'll talk probably a little bit about Mike Bianco. I do apologize for that. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Hey, don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes. You can say whatever you want to say. Steve is a moron. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You can say all of that. Just give us a 5-star review. If you do that, we will be grateful forever. So again, rate and review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. You can say whatever you want to say. Say Steve's a moron, or his hat backwards looks stupid, or what are the Gotham City Rogues. Say whatever you want to say. Just give us a 5-star review. Anyway, first segment today, we talked a little bit about the Marcel Reed commitment. That Very excited about that. And we heard from John Garcia. Second segment, we did our running back room report card. Third segment, because of family commitments, normally you would hear Derek Vandygriff in this segment. We were unable to get him today because of how busy and schedules and things like that. But I do want to talk a little bit about baseball and exactly how that really pans out. And Mike Bianco and Ole Miss has a complex situation on its hands. Now, anytime something ends, it's not good. It's not going to end well. Anybody that talks about wanting to end on good terms, that doesn't exist. That's not a thing. You may want to exit on good terms. You're not going to exit on good terms. Feelings are going to be hurt. And you can only do the best you can in mitigating that situation and in trying to make them as less as they can be. Now, I say that to say Mike Bianco has been at Ole Miss for 22 years. Ole Miss's baseball program itself is a reflection on him. The fact that he's built it up to where it is a reflection on him. The fact that they leave, there's a chance that Ole Miss baseball would just absolutely go into the tank, is absolutely on him and his consistent success. And everybody talks about, well, he's only been to Omaha once. Okay, so I don't care. That's not what we're talking about. Super regional, he's been to 7 or 8. He's never been able to get through that, including last year against Arizona. But if the next guy all of a sudden is struggling to host, you've stepped back a little bit. So what I'm saying is this is a complex situation, and not handling it correctly will end up biting you, like really biting you. Now, there's coaches that Ole Miss fans want, whether it be Dan McDonnell or Cliff Godman, and they assume that one of those guys will take the job. My thought is, I was on staff at Ole Miss when David Cutcliffe was fired. After he interviewed with Kentucky, and everybody was raising up in arms, and in 2004, when they had a chance to get rid of him, they did, because almost as a punitive thing for interviewing. This same thing is happening right now. Mike Bianco talked to LSU. Mike Bianco signed his extension before anything happened. He got back from Arizona, signed the extension, worked a little bit, then went on his vacation. But the extension was already signed. That doesn't get out because that doesn't fit people's narratives of what's going on. But he has such deep ties to Skip Bertman, he had to talk. He owed it to Skip Bertman, who he loves like a father, to at least discuss the job. The fact that he signed the extension means he was never going to take it. And any speculation to the otherwise is not really factually incorrect. Or factually correct. And knowing all of this and the similarities that it has to Cut in 2004, we ended up after Cut with Ed Orgeron. Now, because of Ed Orgeron, and I can admit this, we ended up able to come out of it better than we thought we could. But those 3 years under Ed Orgeron was an absolute problem. It was a disaster. Absolutely. People leaving right and left, bad elements around our program, kids throwing dirt clops at dentists, cats and dogs sleeping together. Yeah, it was absolute pandemonium. But Ole Miss came out of that with Houston Nutt, and we did the back-to-back Cotton Bowl things. And that raised the expectations a little bit more. So after 2 years of that, they fired Houston Nutt and brought in Hugh Freeze, who got us eventually to the Sugar Bowl. We've taken incremental steps since that firing to get to where we are. Where last year we went to the Sugar Bowl again, and now we're expecting to be at such a more high level than really Ole Miss is really expected to be since the 60s. I mean, we're right on the cusp of getting to Atlanta. There's nothing wrong with saying that. There's nothing wrong with believing that. Now, Now, people can say, because of what's happened in that incremental step, the firing of David Cutcliffe allowed us to get there. But my question is, if they do the same to Mike Bianco, and let's say they can't get Cliff Godwin or Dan McDonald, and you hire the wrong guy, and you have 3 years that are pretty rough, and then you deal with incremental to get back kind of to this space, would you be okay with it? That is my question. Would you be okay with that? If you are, absolutely. Do whatever you need to do. If you won't, we might need to massage this a little bit. Now, me, as this show is broadcast mainly for football, because Ole Miss's fan base is 80% football only, 15% football and baseball, and 5% all sports. That's how the fan base breaks out. And there's numbers that can show that analytically on this channel. And you can just look, it's like, okay, there's a thumbnail of football. It got 4 times more views than this thumbnail of women's basketball or even baseball. And usually when the baseball stuff goes, the Tennessee people flooded it for the post-game pod. So the numbers for baseball is probably at 200 views, 250 views per video. For basketball, it's about 200 views. So that's what I'm saying, about 5%, 10%, somewhere in there. But football is a different animal in this school. So if you see what happened in football, it can be predictive in baseball. The difference is where we are whenever that happens. So it's really different from being in the Cotton Bowl in 2003 and being one game from the College World Series. It's like essentially firing a Sweet 16 coach is what's happening. So all I'm saying is do whatever you want to do. It's not going to affect me at all, but be careful doing it. Understand the complexities of the situation. If you do that, you'll probably be fine. So that's my thought on the Mike Bianco situation, and tune in. Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Tomorrow, wide receiver room report card. Could the first incomplete show up? Also, now make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and wherever you get your podcast. So it should be a lot of fun, but tune in for that as well. Had a lot of good fun today. We're going to have to record stuff early, so if news breaks tomorrow, I'm sorry, but we'll have to do the show early for the Wednesday show because of family commitments and things like that. But enjoy the videos just the same. I want to get these out to you as quickly as possible and as many as I can get. So thank you, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.